Ladies and gentlemen of the intellectual symposium, let us wade into the tumultuous waters of skepticism as Destiny, our modern-day philosopher, scrutinized the veracity of Rollo Tomassi's red pill advice, questioning the relevance of counsel derived from a bygone era in the swirling currents of contemporary relationship dynamics.
If you don't believe it, that's fine. The only thing I question, though, is when people will say things like, I don't trust your advice because you're a wealthy streamer. Which also, by the way, I admit that obviously like gives me access to way more people than a normal person. I totally understand that. But people will say things like, I don't trust your advice because your perspective is so different. I'm going to go and listen to all of these red pillars. And it's like, okay, well, like, why would I trust like Rollo's advice on anything having to do with women? He's been married to one woman for 40 years. Like, I don't know if this guy knows anything about like what modern hookup culture is like, what modern women think, but people will take his word as gospel. And it's like, this, you know, found his wife at Woodstock. Why would he have anything to say? Like, when this guy was courting his wife, he didn't even have to text, right? Like, this is totally different, you know? Not to say that because of that, Rollo gives bad advice. Like, I would attack his advice on more factual grounds, but I'm just saying, like, people will say things like, oh yeah, yeah, I don't trust your advice because you're out of touch. I'm going to go listen to all of these other influencers that are definitely more in touch. That's like a little bit weird to me, but you know. Why are you less critical on therapy now? When have I ever been critical on therapy? Therapy is like generally always associated with positive outcomes in basically everything. Does your son or his mom know? No, but like, I don't know how many times. I think I've mostly seen Nathan on my own. Also, I've had girlfriends. I think at a very early point in Nathan's life, I set that like me and his mom are separate and we kind of have like different girlfriends sometimes, or I do, because he also knew Teresa a little, and Aaron too, Eris. Yeah, I don't think it affects him much one way or the other. Can you explain the Farha thing a little bit? No. Was empathy ever an issue in your relationship? Empathy is an issue. Empathy is an issue for everybody. Sometimes the closer you get to somebody, the harder empathy or compassion can be because you get personally affected. So it just kind of depends. You used to say therapy wasn't worth it for you. Oh, like personal stuff. Sorry, I just had another dumb question. Personal stuff. For me, like solo therapy wasn't that good, but relationship therapy has actually been really helpful. Yeah, but yeah, me talking personally about my problems, I wasn't able to get much insight or help from a therapist, but talking to friends has actually helped me a lot on that. And talking about relationships with a relationship counselor was very helpful. Somebody said, Destiny, a 40-year relationship is a successful marriage, though. No? Wouldn't people see your failed relationships and be more wary? If it was the case that Rollo was only giving advice on how to maintain a marriage, that is actually, as funny as it sounds, I would actually be super interested in hearing Rollo talk about for 2 years, how do you maintain a successful marriage? That would actually be real. I'd be curious because he's a social figure. So there's a lot of public pressure. He talks about relationships. He's around all these girls on these shows and shit he does. He has an adult daughter, I think, right? That's a lot of public pressure and everything really is. It would actually be really interesting to like, how do you maintain a marriage after all these years, given how public you are, given the material? That would actually be super interesting. But he never talks about that. He talks about shit like divorce and how it for men and hookup culture and alpha fucks and beta bucks. And it's like, you don't have experience on any of these things. I don't care what you have to say on these. Well, unless you have ways of gathering experience, you're giving good advice or whatever. But like from an ethos or pathos, from like a character point of view, his perspectives there are pretty pointless, and he would have to be talking to a lot of different people for me to like trust his advice there. Kind of like for Dan, actually. I don't know if I've done this on stream or only off stream, but like I know I've asked Dan questions about his marriage. I'm like, what do you guys do? Like, how do you spend time together? Like, how do you balance out like you, your wife, and the kids? So I'm super curious about all this because you've been married for a long time and it has worked really well for you. But like when Dan was in here, like talking about like hookups and stuff, I'm like, okay, hold on. You've been married for like 50 years, the same person. You have no experience here at all. I don't know if I care as much about like Dan's practical advice related to hookups, right? That's what I mean when I say, yeah. It just like depends on the areas that you excel in. Much the same like when people come in and they say like, oh, like I've got like questions, like I've got a really specific problem like LGBTQ relationships. I don't know anything about. I can give you a few things other people have said, but I can't help you with like what are the dangers of, you know, dating or hooking up with people if I haven't come out of the closet yet, or if my friends don't know, or if my mom and dad know but like they haven't seen it, but like I can't answer any of those questions. Yeah.
Destiny, with the sagacity of a linguistic maestro, peels back the layers of Rollo's narrative, revealing a dichotomy between marital longevity and the tumultuous seas of modern hookup culture. Destiny's skepticism unfurls like the intricate verses of a hip-hop lyric, with a spotlight on Rollo's 40-year marriage. Destiny, akin to a discerning archaeologist excavating the relics of relational wisdom, suggests that Rollo's tether to an antiquated era may render him an unwitting anachronism in the tapestry of contemporary love and evolving female perspectives. While Destiny acknowledges the potential value of Rollo's insights into maintaining a long-term marriage, disappointment reverberates through his critique like a bass drop in a rhythmic composition. The absence of discourse on enduring unions leaves Destiny yearning for a symphony of wisdom that spans the spectrum of relationship experiences. In the arena of advice-giving, Destiny, with the finesse of a jazz improvisation, shifts the spotlight to Rollo's thematic focus on divorce, hookup culture, and the alpha-beta dynamic. Destiny's critique weaves through the fabric of credibility, questioning the relevance of Rollo's pontifications on realms where personal experiences may be akin to ancient scrolls lost to time. Destiny, as the herald of ethos and character, underscores the importance of experiential breadth in the realm of dispensing advice. Much like a hip-hop lyricist discerning authenticity in the beats, Destiny posits that Rollo's perspectives may lack resonance unless they resonate with the diverse notes of modern relationship dynamics. In a deft move, Destiny draws parallels with seeking advice from his friend Dan, a sage in the art of sustaining long-term marriages. The nuanced comparison resonates like a melodic harmony, highlighting the importance of seeking counsel from those whose experiences are harmoniously attuned to the specific cadences of one's inquiries. As Destiny navigates the labyrinth of advice-seeking, he stumbles upon the refrain of humility in acknowledging personal limitations. Like a philosopher adrift in the sea of diversity, Destiny admits his inability to provide advice on LGBTQ+ relationships or coming out of the closet, urging individuals to turn to those who have traversed similar terrains. The essence of the Red Pill philosophy is often distilled into a set of principles emphasizing self-improvement, embracing traditional masculinity, and navigating relationships with a keen awareness of power dynamics. Yet, as the spotlight shines, a disconcerting revelation emerges. Many Red Pill advocates are ensnared in a web of contradictions, their actions betraying the very values they preach. One glaring hypocrisy lies in the dissonance between the Red Pill mantra of embracing self-improvement and the often observable lack of personal growth among its vocal adherents. The chasm widens between the exhortations to become the best version of oneself and the reality of stagnant personal development, rendering the philosophy akin to a ship without a compass, lost in the tempest of its own inconsistencies. Furthermore, the dichotomy between the Red Pill emphasis on understanding female psychology and the glaring instances of objectification and manipulation within some Red Pill circles raises eyebrows. The contradiction between advocating for genuine connection and engaging in transactional approaches to relationships paints a portrait of hypocrisy akin to a surreptitious double life. The Red Pill's advocacy for traditional masculinity, often portraying strength and stoicism as virtues, paradoxically clashes with the vulnerability and emotional fragility displayed by some of its advocates. The incongruity between preaching resilience and succumbing to emotional turbulence reveals a disconcerting discordance between rhetoric and reality. In the arena of relationship dynamics, the Red Pill's insistence on understanding power dynamics falls flat when certain advocates, rather than fostering mutual respect, perpetuate toxic behaviors that undermine the very foundations of healthy relationships. The disjuncture between advocating for healthy partnerships and engaging in manipulative tactics paints a grim picture of hypocrisy that echoes through the corridors of discourse. Moreover, the dichotomy becomes even more pronounced when Red Pill advocates preach the virtues of loyalty and commitment while simultaneously endorsing or engaging in behaviors that undermine the sanctity of monogamous relationships. The gap between espousing fidelity and participating in actions that erode trust becomes a narrative of moral inconsistency. This hypocrisy is not merely an abstract philosophical concern, it has tangible consequences. The dissonance between stated values and actual behavior within the Red Pill community can contribute to a toxic environment that perpetuates harmful stereotypes, fosters distrust, and undermines the potential for healthy, respectful relationships. In conclusion, Destiny's critique of Rollo Tomassi's advice unfolds as a lyrical examination of temporal dissonance. In the vast amphitheater of relationship counsel, Destiny invites us to scrutinize the sources of wisdom, urging us to seek advice from those whose experiences resonate with the contemporary rhythms of love and connection. The discourse becomes a symphony of skepticism and discernment, echoing through the corridors of relational philosophy with the wisdom of hip-hop beats and the resonance of ancient proverbs.